Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. Respect is not something you beg for. It's not something you cry about. It's not even something you demand. Respect is something you create by the standards you set in your life. If you don't set boundaries, people will walk all over you like a welcome mat. And the crazy part is, they won't even feel bad about it because you never showed them the lines they shouldn't cross. Now, when it comes to men, let me tell you, men respect boundaries. They might not like them at first. They might huff and puff, but they will respect them. So let me break this down for you, 5 boundaries that will make any man respect you more. The first one is this, the boundary of your time. Stop giving people unlimited access to your time. Time is the most valuable thing you have. You can make more money. You can buy another car. You can move into another house. But once your time is gone, it's gone. If a man sees that you're always available, always waiting, always dropping everything just because he called, then he knows he doesn't have to try hard. But when you protect your time, when you show that your schedule matters, when you say, no, I can't see you tonight, I've got things to do. Suddenly he realizes, hold on, her time is important. And once a man sees your time as valuable, he steps up, he plans, he shows effort. That boundary makes him respect you. Now here's the second one, the boundary of your self-worth. You have to make it clear that your value does not depend on his approval, his compliments, or his attention. You were valuable before he showed up, and you'll be valuable if he ever leaves. A lot of women slip into this trap of shrinking themselves, tolerating nonsense, just to keep a man around. But when you set that line and say, I don't accept disrespect, I don't accept lies, I don't accept half effort, that man realizes real quick he either has to rise up to your level or step aside. And let me tell you, the minute he knows you are not afraid to walk away, he respects you differently. Third one, the boundary of your standards. Don't lower them just because you're scared he'll walk. If you say you want honesty, consistency, faithfulness, then mean it. Don't let a man talk you into thinking your standards are too high. A man who really wants you will meet them. Men respect clear standards. They may test them. Oh yes, they'll test them. But when you hold the line, they respect it. And here's the kicker. When you keep your standards, the wrong man walks away, but the right man leans in closer. Number 4, the boundary of emotional control. Don't let somebody else's actions dictate your peace. Men respect women who don't get dragged into drama, who don't let their emotions get played like a puppet. When you can look at a situation and say, that's not how I roll. I'm not going to let you pull me into that mess. You're showing strength, and strength commands respect. A man may not always say it out loud, but deep down, he respects the woman who doesn't lose herself in the chaos. And the 5th one, the boundary of independence. Now, let me make this clear. I'm not talking about pushing a man away or saying you don't need anybody. I'm talking about having your own life, your own goals, your own joy outside of him. Because when a man sees that you have your own world and he's a part of it, not the center of it, he respects you more. He knows you're not clinging to him out of desperation. He knows you're choosing him because you want him, not because you need him. And that makes a man show up different. See, the truth is this. Boundaries don't push good men away. They attract them. They separate the ones who only came to play from the ones who came to stay. And every single boundary you set is like a mirror that reflects how much you value yourself. And the way you value yourself is exactly how others will value you. When you start protecting your time, you begin to understand just how much power you actually hold. Time is the one thing you can't buy back, you can't replace, and you can't rewind. Once it's gone forever, and yet so many people give it away freely as if it has no value. Think about it. How often do you drop everything just because someone calls, or you rearrange your schedule because someone suddenly decides they want to see you? That's what people do when they haven't drawn the line around their time. And here's the truth. When you don't guard your time, people notice and they start to treat it like it's worth nothing. But when you make your time scarce, when you put it in its rightful place as one of the most valuable parts of your life, people, especially men, begin to treat you differently. Men in particular respect what they have to work for. It's part of human nature. If something is always available, always ready at the snap of a finger, it loses its value in their eyes. That doesn't mean you should play games or act unavailable for no reason. It means you should live a life so full of purpose, so focused on your goals, that you don't have the space to waste time on things or people that don't honor you. Protecting your time looks like saying, no, I can't talk for 3 hours in the middle of the day when I've got work to do. It looks like not canceling your plans just because someone texts you last minute. It looks like honoring your commitments to yourself first before giving your energy to somebody else. When you set that boundary, something interesting happens. Men start to respect you more. Why? Because they realize they are not the center of your world. They realize that if they want to be part of your life, they need to come correct. They need to show effort. And they need to fit into a schedule that already matters. And believe me, that's attractive. A woman with her own life, her own priorities, her own time management, that's a woman who commands respect. Now, here's the problem. Too many people treat time like it's endless. They let men waste it, string them along, or dictate when and how they'll show up. If he calls you only at night, if he only texts you when he's bored, and you jump every time, you're teaching him that your time doesn't matter. And men are quick learners. The moment he knows he can get you whenever he wants, the moment he sees you cancel your own priorities for him, he files that away and says, I don't have to work too hard here. And once that thought sets in, respect goes out the window. Protecting your time also means you're intentional about who you give it to. Not everyone deserves hours of your life. Some people drain you, some people distract you, and some people delay your growth. But when you start looking at your time like it's money in the bank, you become careful about where you spend it. You wouldn't hand over your paycheck to somebody who doesn't deserve it. So why hand over your hours to someone who's not adding anything meaningful to your life? When a man sees you move like that, when he sees that you don't let just anybody take up space in your day, he realizes you're not playing around. And it's not just about him. It's about you. When you honor your time, you're saying to yourself, I matter. My dreams matter. My rest matters. My goals matter. You stop apologizing for having boundaries, and you start living with a sense of worth that radiates out into everything you do. And that worth is undeniable. Men may not always admit it, but they admire women who don't let themselves be run ragged by everyone else's demands. They admire women who know how to say no without guilt. They admire women who don't waste hours on drama, gossip, or waiting around. When you protect your time, you also make the time you do give more valuable. If a man knows you're not always available, the moments he does get with you become more meaningful. He shows up differently, he plans better. He respects the fact that you carved out space for him. And suddenly, instead of being taken for granted, you're appreciated. That's the power of setting a boundary around your time. It shifts the dynamic completely. But let's be real, it's not easy at first. If you've been the type to always say yes, always put yourself last, always run to everybody's rescue, people will push back when you start saying no. They'll call you selfish, they'll act like you've changed, they'll test those boundaries. But stand firm, because what you're really doing is teaching people how to treat you. You're saying, I am not here to be used. I am not here to be your backup plan. I am not here to waste my life on things that don't feed my spirit. And the people who truly care about you will adjust, and the ones who don't will fade away. Either way, you win, because your time goes back into the hands of the one person that always belonged to you. Men especially respect this because deep down, they understand the grind. They know what it means to hustle, to value effort, to respect discipline. When they see a woman apply that same principle to her time, they can't help but admire it. And even if it frustrates them in the moment, because maybe they wanted you to drop everything, they will adjust to it, because respect always follows boundaries. So when you start protecting your time, you stop being the person who's waiting on someone else to choose you, and you start being the person who chooses yourself first. And when you choose yourself first, you set the tone for how everyone else, including men, will choose to treat you. Valuing yourself is the foundation of every boundary you will ever set, because if you don't see your own worth, you'll keep accepting less than you deserve. Too many times people confuse being wanted with being valued. A man can want your company, he can want your time, he can want your attention, but that doesn't mean he values you. Value is about what he's willing to give in return, what effort he's willing to put in, how much respect he shows when you're not around. And here's the hard truth, a man only values you as much as you value yourself. If you treat yourself like you're second class, if you keep tolerating lies, half effort, broken promises, he sees that, he clocks it. And once he knows you don't require more, he won't give more. Valuing yourself means setting the standard that you will not be disrespected. It means showing up in every room like you belong there, not waiting for someone else to validate your presence. When you value yourself, you stop apologizing for existing, you stop minimizing your accomplishments, and you stop tolerating people who don't treat you with dignity. Men respect women who carry themselves with that kind of confidence. They may test it, they may challenge it, but deep down they admire it, because it's a strength they can feel even without you saying a word. Think about this. When you buy something expensive, you treat it differently than something cheap. You protect it, you invest in it, you don't toss it around carelessly. Why? Because its value is clear. The same is true with how you carry yourself. If you show up like you don't matter, if you let people talk to you any kind of way, if you let them waste your energy, you're putting a discount tag on yourself. But when you value yourself, when you make it clear that your time, your peace, your love, your body, your soul are not up for sale, then people treat you like you are priceless. Now, here's where a lot of people go wrong. They confuse self-value with arrogance. Valuing yourself is not about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about knowing you are worthy of respect and love just as much as anyone else. It's about not begging for crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. It's about being okay with walking away when someone refuses to treat you right. Because the moment you start begging, the moment you start shrinking, you're telling the world you don't see your own worth. And if you don't see it, why should anyone else? Valuing yourself shows up in the little things too. It shows up in how you talk about yourself. Do you put yourself down all the time? Do you make jokes about not being good enough? Do you let negative self-talk run your life? Because people are listening, and men especially pick up on that. If you don't believe you're worthy, they will follow your lead. But when you speak with confidence, when you treat yourself with kindness, when you celebrate your wins, they take note of that too. When you value yourself, you also stop settling for half-hearted love. You stop accepting men who only show up when it's convenient. You stop playing games with people who don't know what they want. You stop making excuses for bad behavior. Because valuing yourself means understanding that being alone is better than being mistreated. It means understanding that your happiness cannot be built on someone else's laziness or lack of respect. And believe me, men respect a woman who is not afraid to walk away. Even if it bruises their ego, even if they get upset in the moment, in the long run, they respect it because it shows you will not compromise your dignity for anyone. Another part of valuing yourself is knowing your boundaries and keeping them. Anybody can say, I don't accept disrespect, but if you allow it once and excuse it, then you've told them it's negotiable. Value shows up in consistency. Value shows up in your ability to say, I said what I said and I meant it. Men test boundaries, but they also respect the ones that don't bend. Every time you let something slide that violates your self-worth, you chip away at your own value in his eyes. But every time you hold the line, you remind him and yourself that you are not to be played with. Valuing yourself doesn't just affect how men treat you, it affects how you treat yourself. You start eating better, resting more, pursuing your goals harder, surrounding yourself with people who lift you up instead of tear you down. You create an environment that reflects your worth, and that energy speaks louder than words. Men can feel it. They can feel when you are someone who will not tolerate being mishandled. They can feel when you are not desperate for attention, when you are not hungry for validation, when you are choosing them because you want them, not because you need them. And that changes the entire dynamic. The truth is, valuing yourself is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Every morning you have to wake up and decide, I will not lower myself today. I will not settle for less than I deserve today. I will not allow anyone to take from me what I will not give. And every night you go to bed knowing that the way you treated yourself set the standard for how others treated you. And over time, it becomes your identity. People know who they can and cannot play with. Men especially know which women they can approach with games and which ones they have to come correct for. When you stand firm in your self-worth, you stop chasing people. You stop begging. You stop proving yourself. You realize you already are the prize, and anyone who doesn't see it is not your problem. That shift in mindset is what makes a man step back and say, okay, she's different. I can't treat her like everybody else. I have to respect her. And that's the power of valuing yourself. It transforms the way the world interacts with you because you've already set the tone by the way you interact with yourself. Holding firm to your standards is one of the clearest ways to command respect because standards are the blueprint of how you allow people to treat you. If you don't have them or if you waver on them every time someone you like shows up, you send the message that your values are negotiable. And let's be honest, once someone learns that your standards can be bent, they will test you over and over again just to see how far you're willing to go. But when you hold firm, when you say, this is who I am, this is what I expect, and this is what I won't accept, you create a filter that weeds out the people who were never serious about respecting you in the first place. Standards are not about being picky, they're about being clear. A lot of people get scared of the word standards because they think it means being demanding or unreasonable. But that's not it at all. Having standards means knowing your non-negotiables. It means saying, I want honesty, I want effort, I want respect, I want consistency. These are not luxuries, these are basics. And the moment you treat them like they're optional, you end up with people who give you the bare minimum and still expect a gold medal for it. A man respects a woman who knows her standards and stands by them because it tells him that she respects herself. Now, here's where it gets tricky. A lot of women set standards, but then they make exceptions. When feelings get involved, you say you want consistency, but you accept someone who disappears for days and then comes back with excuses. You say you want respect, but you tolerate someone raising their voice or dismissing your feelings. You say you want honesty, but you accept half truths and white lies. And little by little, you teach him that your standards are negotiable. And once he learns that, the respect starts to fade. Because what men really respect is not what you say, but what you enforce. Think about it this way: rules only matter if they have consequences. If you tell someone the rule, but never enforce it, then it's just words. But when you stand firm on your standards, when you back them up with action, you show that you mean business. A man may push against those boundaries at first, but when he sees that you don't flinch, that you don't cave, that you don't make exceptions, he realizes that you're not like everyone else. And that realization shifts the way he treats you. Holding firm to your standards is also about not letting loneliness or fear make you compromise. Too many times people lower their standards because they're afraid of being alone. They think, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe I should just take what I can get. But the moment you start thinking like that, you open the door to being disrespected. Standards are there to protect you from wasting your life on people who can't meet you where you are. And the truth is, when you compromise them just to keep someone around, you end up losing yourself in the process. Men respect women who don't compromise their standards because it shows strength. It shows that you're not afraid to walk away from something that doesn't serve you. It shows that you're not desperate, you're not begging, you're not settling. And whether they admit it or not, men admire that. They admire the woman who doesn't flinch when someone tries to test her. They admire the woman who says, this is not enough for me, and then actually walks away instead of sticking around hoping it will change. That kind of confidence makes them rise up, because if they want to be in your life, they have to meet you where you are. Another thing about standards is that they separate the serious from the unserious. When you hold firm, the wrong men fall away quickly because they don't want to put in the effort. And that's a good thing. That's not rejection, that's protection. The right man, the one who truly values you, will not be scared off by your standards. He will respect them. He will rise to them. He will see them as a reflection of the quality of person you are. It's the men who only want to play games who get intimidated by standards, because games don't work when the rules are clear. And let's not forget, standards are not just about how others treat you, they're also about how you treat yourself. If you say you want respect, but you don't respect yourself, if you say you want honesty, but you're not honest with yourself, then your standards become empty words. Holding firm means living by the same principles you expect from others. It means showing consistency in your own actions, keeping promises to yourself, and not lowering your bar just because someone tries to sweet talk you into it. Men respect standards because they know how the world works. They know that when something has rules, guidelines, and requirements, it has value. Nobody respects a test that everyone can pass with zero effort. Nobody respects a trophy that's given to everybody. Respect comes from knowing that not everyone qualifies, and the same is true in relationships. If a man knows that not everyone can get your time, not everyone can get your love, not everyone can meet your requirements, then the fact that he has a place in your life becomes meaningful. When you hold firm to your standards, you stop playing tug of war between what you want and what you're willing to accept. You stop living in confusion, wondering why someone doesn't treat you right, because you already made it clear that if they can't meet the standard, they don't get to stay. And every time you uphold that line, you teach people how to treat you. You make it impossible for anyone to mistake what you will or will not accept. And that clarity, that firmness, that strength is what makes men respect you on a deeper level than anything else. Controlling your emotions is one of the most powerful boundaries you can ever set, because emotions are often the very thing people use to manipulate you. When you allow someone to pull your strings, when they can get you angry, jealous, defensive, or desperate with just one move, they know they control you. But when you learn to master your emotions, when you decide that no one else gets to dictate your peace, that's when real respect begins. Men in particular notice very quickly whether or not a woman has control over her emotions. They watch how you respond under pressure. They watch how you handle conflict, and they watch how you react when you don't get your way. If every small situation causes you to explode or break down, they know they can get what they want simply by pushing those buttons. But when you stay calm, collected, and unshaken, they realize they can't play with you like that. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel things. It doesn't mean you have to be cold or detached. It simply means you refuse to hand your power over to someone else. You can be hurt, but you don't let that pain make you beg. You can be angry, but you don't let that anger turn into reckless words or actions. You can be disappointed, but you don't let that disappointment drive you back to situations you've outgrown. Men respect a woman who feels deeply but still has the discipline to choose her response wisely. That balance of emotion and control is what separates someone who is easily manipulated from someone who commands respect. One of the easiest ways people lose respect is by overreacting. If he doesn't text back right away and you blow up his phone with messages, you've just taught him that you don't trust yourself, that your sense of worth is tied to his response. If he says something careless and you explode in rage, instead of calmly stating your boundary, you've shown that he can derail your peace with a single comment. And once a man knows he has that power, he won't take you as seriously. But when he sees you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't throw tantrums, he has no choice but to respect the fact that you are in control of yourself. Controlling your emotions also means not letting jealousy or insecurity run your life. A lot of relationships are destroyed not by what actually happens, but by how people react. If you feel threat every time another woman walks by, if you accuse without proof, if you let your imagination spiral into fear, you end up pushing away the very respect you crave. But when you trust yourself, when you carry yourself with confidence, when you know that you don't have to compete with anyone because what you bring to the table is unique, then you don't fall into emotional traps. Men respect that level of security because it shows you know your value without needing constant reassurance. Another part of emotional control is not letting anger drive you to disrespect yourself. How many times do people break their own boundaries because they were upset in the moment? You get angry and suddenly you're saying things you can't take back, doing things that hurt you more than they hurt the other person. That loss of control may feel powerful for a few minutes, but afterward it leaves regret. Men watch how you handle anger, and if they see you lose control, they lose respect. But if you can express your anger with clarity, with firmness, without sinking into chaos, then they know they're dealing with someone who has mastered themselves. And nothing is more powerful than that. Emotional control is also about patience. Not everything needs an immediate reaction. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Sometimes walking away says more than yelling ever could. When you don't rush to respond, when you take the time to process before reacting, you show strength. You show that you are not a puppet pulled by every string, but a person who chooses carefully how to respond. And men respect patience because it shows discipline. And discipline is something that always commands respect. It's also important to recognize that emotional control doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It's not about pretending you don't care or bottling everything inside until you explode. It's about acknowledging your feelings, but not letting them take the wheel. It's about saying, yes, I feel hurt, but I will handle this with grace. Yes, I feel disappointed, but I will not lower myself to chaos. Yes, I feel angry, but I will not let anger make my decisions for me. That balance makes you unshakable. And when you are unshakable, you become someone a man has no choice but to respect. Men also respect emotional control because it shows maturity. Anybody can get loud, anybody can throw a tantrum, anybody can cause a scene. That doesn't take strength, it takes weakness. Real strength is quiet. Real strength is measured. Real strength is in the woman who can sit across from someone who disrespected her and calmly say, "This will not continue." Real strength is in the woman who can walk away without needing to make a show of it. Real strength is in the woman who can handle her emotions without letting them handle her. And when men see that, they respect it even if they don't say it out loud. Another thing emotional control does is shift the power dynamic. If a man knows he can push you into losing yourself, he holds the power. But if he sees that no matter what he does, you keep your dignity, you keep your calm, and you keep your boundaries intact, then the power shifts back to you. You show that you are not controlled by him, by the situation, or by your emotions. And that's when respect deepens, because respect always follows power, and true power is self-control. At the end of the day, emotional control is one of the most valuable skills you can ever have. It protects your peace, it maintains your dignity, and it ensures that people know you are not someone who can be toyed with. Men might challenge it, they might push it, they might try to test how much you can take, but when they realize that you won't break, that you won't lose yourself, that you won't hand over your control to anyone. They are forced to respect you. Keeping your independence is one of the most attractive and respected qualities you can bring into any relationship, because independence tells a man that you have your own life, your own identity, and your own direction outside of him. Too often people make the mistake of building their entire world around someone else, forgetting that before that person came along, they had dreams, goals, passions, and responsibilities. When you forget those things, you begin to lose yourself piece by piece. And once you lose yourself, you start clinging. And the truth is, nothing makes a man lose respect faster than feeling like he's responsible for your entire happiness. Men respect women who have their own center of gravity, who can stand strong even without leaning on somebody else for validation or fulfillment. Independence doesn't mean you don't want companionship. It doesn't mean you act like you don't need anyone. And it definitely doesn't mean you shut people out. What it does mean is that you are secure enough to live your life fully whether someone is in it or not. You can enjoy your work, your hobbies, your friendships, your growth without needing constant reassurance. When a man sees that you are whole by yourself, he knows that you're choosing him out of desire, not desperation. And that makes the connection stronger, because nobody respects a relationship built on fear of being alone. They respect a relationship built on two people who are already complete, coming together to add to each other's lives. One of the most powerful aspects of independence is financial independence. When you can take care of yourself, when you can pay your own bills, when you're not relying on someone to fund your life, you create a dynamic where your presence is not a transaction. A man can't buy respect, and if he thinks he owns you because he pays for everything, then the relationship becomes unbalanced. But when you've shown that you're capable of providing for yourself, he understands that you're there because you want to be, not because you have to be. That distinction changes the level of respect instantly. Independence also shows up in how you pursue your goals. Are you chasing your dreams, or are you putting everything on hold waiting for someone else to tell you it's okay to move forward? When a man sees you working on your career, your passions, or your personal growth, he knows that you are someone with ambition. And ambition is something people respect because it proves that you're not stagnant, you're not sitting around waiting for life to happen, you're making it happen. Men notice that, and it changes the way they see you. Keeping your independence also means having your own voice. Too many people silence themselves in relationship to keep the peace or to avoid rocking the boat. But if you stop expressing your thoughts, your opinions, and your feelings just to please someone else, you're erasing yourself from the picture. Independence means you're not afraid to speak your truth, even if it's not what someone wants to hear. It means you can stand on your own convictions without needing someone else's approval. Men may not always agree with what you say, but they respect the fact that you have a mind of your own and the courage to use it. Social independence is another important part. You should never give up your friendships, your family connections, or your social life just because you're in a relationship. The people you love and the community you have a part of who you are. When you abandon all of that to focus solely on one man, you send the message that you don't have balance, and imbalance always leads to resentment. A man respects a woman who has her own circle, who has support systems outside of him, because it shows that she's not placing the entire weight of her happiness on his shoulders. It creates freedom, and that freedom makes the relationship healthy. Independence also ties into emotional strength. If every time you're upset you rely on someone else to fix you, you give away your power. Independence means learning how to regulate your own emotions, how to comfort yourself, and how to keep moving forward even when life gets heavy. Of course, there's nothing wrong with leaning on someone when you need support, but if you can't function without them, you're not independent. Men respect women who can weather their own storms, who can face challenges with resilience, and who know how to pick themselves back up. That kind of strength is admirable. And it makes the bond even stronger because you're not asking to be saved, you're asking to be supported. One of the misconceptions about independence is that it makes you unapproachable or difficult to love, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Independence actually makes love better because it creates space for both people to thrive individually and together. When a man sees that you're not constantly demanding his time or attention, when he sees that you're busy building your own life, he appreciates the time you do give him even more. Independence makes a relationship feel like a choice, not an obligation. And people respect choices far more than they respect obligations. Independence also creates boundaries naturally. If you have your own life, you don't tolerate someone wasting your time or pulling you into games. You know what you have going on. You know what you're working toward. And you're not about to risk all of that for someone who isn't serious. That mindset keeps your standards high and your boundaries firm, and men recognize that. They know they have to bring value into your life because you're not just sitting around waiting for scraps of attention. They know they have to put in effort if they want to be part of your world, because your world already has meaning without them. The truth about independence is that it commands respect because it communicates strength, balance, and self-worth. It says you are someone who has built a life worth living, and anyone who comes into it has to bring something to the table. A man respects a woman like that because she doesn't need him to complete her. She wants him to complement her. And when he realizes that his presence in your life is a privilege, not a necessity, he shows up differently, he gives more effort, and he treats you with the respect that independence naturally demands. Demanding respect through consistency is one of the strongest boundaries you can ever hold, because consistency proves that you mean what you say. Anybody can set boundaries in the moment. Anybody can talk about what they will and won't accept. But consistency is what separates empty words from real standards. When you enforce your boundaries every time without exceptions, you show people that you take yourself seriously. And when you take yourself seriously, others are forced to do the same. Men, in particular, notice quickly whether or not you are consistent. They watch how you react when you're tested. They watch if you let things slide. And they watch if your actions match your words. The moment they see a gap, the moment they realize that your boundaries can be bent depending on how much you like them, that's when respect starts to fade. Consistency is about more than just saying no when you need to. It's about living in alignment with your values at all times. If you say you don't tolerate disrespect, then the first time it happens, you stand firm. If you say you won't accept dishonesty, then you don't brush off lies just because you're afraid of losing someone. If you say you want effort, then you don't keep entertaining people who only give you excuses. Consistency tells the world you don't negotiate with your own self-worth. It creates a pattern that men begin to recognize, and once they recognize it, they respect it. The problem many people run into is that they set strong boundaries at the start, but over time they soften when feelings get involved. They forgive things they said they wouldn't forgive. They accept behavior they said they wouldn't accept. They let things slide because they're scared to lose the connection. And while that might keep the relationship going on the surface, underneath it erodes respect. Because a man is always watching whether your boundaries are situational or permanent. If they're situational, he knows all he has to do is push you far enough, charm you hard enough, or wait long enough, and eventually you'll fold. But if they're permanent, if you stand firm, no matter how much you care, then he knows you're not someone to be played with. Consistency also builds trust. People respect those who are predictable in their principles. When you're consistent, a man knows exactly where you stand. He knows what lines not to cross, and he knows what kind of treatment you expect. There's no confusion, no guessing games, no mixed signals. And that clarity makes him respect you because it shows strength. A man may not always like the boundary, but he will respect it because he sees that it does not change depending on the circumstances. One of the hardest parts of consistency is following through when it costs you. It's easy to be consistent when it doesn't require sacrifice, but the real test comes when you have to walk away from someone you care about because they refuse to respect your line. That's the moment when your consistency matters most, because it proves that you value yourself more than you value temporary comfort. A man respects a woman who is willing to lose him before she loses herself. He may be frustrated. He may even try to convince you otherwise, but deep down he knows that kind of strength is rare and rare things are respected. Consistency also keeps you from being manipulated. People test boundaries to see where the weakness lies. If one day you say you won't tolerate late night calls, but the next day you answer them anyway, you've just taught him that the rule doesn't really apply. If one day you say you won't accept last-minute plans, but the next day you agree because you didn't want to seem difficult, you've shown that your standards are flexible. But if you're consistent, if your actions line up every time, then he learns that testing you is pointless. He understands quickly that the only way to stay in your life is to respect your boundaries. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about reliability. It's about making damn sure that the person you are today matches the person you said you were yesterday. It's about living in such a way that your words and your actions tell the same story. That's what builds respect, because it shows that you are not moved by emotions, you are not swayed by charm, and you are not willing to compromise your dignity for temporary satisfaction. Men may push against that at first, But once they see that you mean it, once they see that you don't bend, they have no choice but to respect it. Another layer of consistency is how you treat yourself. If you demand respect from others, but you disrespect yourself through negative self-talk, poor habits, or tolerating chaos, then your words lose power. But when you are consistent in how you honor yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you care for yourself, how you keep promises to yourself, that energy radiates outward. Men can feel it. They can sense that you are not someone who just talks about self-respect, but actually lives it daily. That kind of consistency is magnetic because it proves authenticity. Consistency also builds reputation. Over time, people know you for your standards. They know you don't back down. They know you don't waver. They know you mean what you say. And once you build that reputation, men approach you differently. They know they can't come with games. They know they can't try shortcuts. They know they have to bring real respect if they want to be in your space. And that reputation protects you because it weeds out people who don't have the intention of meeting your standards before they even get close. Demanding respect through consistency is not just about teaching men how to treat you. It's about teaching yourself that you are worth being respected. Every time you enforce your boundaries, you reaffirm your value. Every time you stand firm, you remind yourself of your worth. And that self-assurance is what makes people take you seriously. Men respect women who respect themselves, and consistency is the ultimate way of proving that your self-respect is not temporary, it is permanent, it is unwavering, and it is not up for negotiation.